Hey, welcome back to Model Train Outsider, Episode 5. Today I'd like to... Here we go again. What do you want? Well, hey, you keep talking about being into trains and being a model train guy, and yet you haven't even shown your layout. You haven't shown what you're working on. Isn't it time, if you're a train guy, maybe show some trains or do something about your train? Well, that's what I am going to do. That's the whole subject of today's video. Oh, cool. It's almost like I can read his mind, isn't it? But what happened to all those visions, those dreams that I had when I got that first train 3 years ago and started saying, hey, what can we build? Although I kind of already knew I was going to represent the town of Delmenhorst because that's where I live when I go to Germany each year. Well, it's like everything else. You didn't think it through. You had all kinds of crazy things and didn't know what you were doing. Well, hey, that's what I do. I'm the dreamer. I get the visions, the ideas. I have all those dreams and say, let's go. We can do this. It's not like I gave you anything you couldn't do. I know you. Yeah, you just didn't think about time, money, space, planning, construction, all the other things that really go into building a layout. Yeah. But I gave you great ideas, visions. Those dreams you had that told you, hey, this is how to build something. That was me. I still have the dream, but you're not getting there yet. Let's go, chop chop. Yeah, but they weren't all practical. Well, that's what I want to talk about today, is the blank canvas that is my train table. And I call it a train table because it's not a layout. To me, a layout has the buildings and the terrain and all the little scenics that you want to put into it. Me, I just have a large table I'm running trains on, and I'm going to give you a view of that in a couple of minutes just so you can say, gee, what a waste. But that was the problem. You come up with big ideas, dreams, fantasies, but reality sets in. I have friends in the construction industry, and they will talk about engineers versus architects. And architects like to draw all kinds of wonderful things, and the engineers come in and say, but. So, if you remember back from video 1, I talked about how I got into this, or how he got me into this. I wasn't into trains. I fell in love with the German train system. And to summarize the 15-minute first video in 10 seconds, what I really wanted to do was recreate the train station that I was most familiar with, and that sense of getting on the train and taking off and going somewhere. I wasn't so much into the trains as recreating this amazing part of Germany culture that I had been experiencing for, at the time, about 12 years. So you come up with an idea. You start with a model train, and very quickly, okay, you need a table. And in the first video, we showed you the stages the train went through. But you have plans. You say, okay, this is what I want to do, but how do you get there? Yes, I've built dioramas, but to be honest, outside of my wargaming, my tabletop wargaming hobby that kind of went into hibernation a few years ago, I hadn't done anything in years as far as building scenery and stuff like that. So I kind of started feeling like maybe my skills weren't there. And on top of that, one of the things I originally decided, he decided, and I was right there with it, was I was going to build an exact replica of a certain train station that I had come to know and love in Germany, from a town I had come to know and love in Germany. And I was going to model a large section of that city. I wasn't going for a beautiful scenic layout. I was doing a very specific recreation. Well, that's a great dream, but several things get in the way. Life gets in the way. I've had 2 shoulder surgeries. My wife had knee replacement surgery. I had to rebuild a kitchen, a bathroom, and then just as I started building my first layout, my entire basement got trashed. And I had to gut my basement and rebuild it, and that meant going back to square one with trying to build a layout. So, let's look at where I'm at right now. This is my train table. All right, so this is my basement now that I've remodeled it. I really don't have pictures or videos of what it once looked like. It used to be much darker. One of the nice things of having to gut it was I was able to put in nice, bright LED lights and get the walls much lighter color. But out of the 25 years I've lived in this house, this for at least 15, 18 of those years was my children's play area. We don't have a big yard. This is where my 3 kids had their toys, their entertainment center, their Legos scattered all over, Barbie dolls and G.I. Joes and Transformers. This was their room. It's only once they grew up, got married, went to college, and moved out that I realized this room had potential. So this is what I have as you scan across. I created this big C area. I've got this giant C. This section here is 8 feet wide by about 12 feet deep. And then there's a middle area that's about 2.5 feet wide by 6 feet with my very messy control and work area here. And then this area over here is, again, 8 feet by 11. So the longest run here is 22 feet, or about 6.5 meters to all my European friends. And this is where we're at. Nothing on this table is how I plan it to be or want it to be. I just have track down so I can run my trains. That's one of the problems. I never really decided exactly how I wanted the layout to run when I built this table. I just wanted something, and I knew I needed access in the middle, wanted a control center, and my trains. And in fact, you can see a few of my models out right now. Again, everything I do is basically German, Central European. So we have my Metronome, which is a private company that basically deals with traffic into and out of Hamburg. It's a regional train. Next to that is the German official Deutsche Bahn, a Regiobahn, which you see all over Germany. And then here is an ICE3. That's their high-speed trains. That's the ICE3. They've just released ICE4 a couple of years ago. That's the new one. Over here, we have another regional. This is Nordwestbahn, another private company, and that deals with traffic between the city of Bremen and Osnabrück and Oldenburg. And again, I could stick a map up here, but you probably either know Germany or you don't. And then right next to that is my ICE2 from Märklin, which is waiting for the control card to be released later this month. And that could be a video in itself on why they did that. And then in my very narrow parking area over here, I have my freight train. This is a 186 locomotive, electric locomotive, and some freight cars. My wife bought me this for my birthday and Christmas last year. My ICE2. And then I have a class 147 electric locomotive, which doesn't have a job right now. And then I have a group of Czech railjet cars, which are waiting for their locomotive to get fixed. I had it converted from DC to AC by AC Euro Trains, and he did an awesome job. I even have a video on the site about that. And I sent it back so he could line up these cars and convert these cars to AC as well and put lights in them. But unfortunately,
through the mail, the package got damaged and the train needs to go back and get fixed. Bam. A couple of trains that are not featured here. My Austrian railjet, in fact, here's the Czech locomotive, waiting to be mailed back. I've just been waiting for time and a little bit of money to send that off and get it repaired. And this is a few of the cars of my railjet, which also have a car that needs repaired because it doesn't light up, and that has to, I've got a friend who's coming in to work on that. And then the gorgeous locomotive that goes with this set. This is just an amazing locomotive. It's the first time I bought a train I had not ridden on. This is this gorgeous Austrian railjet. I probably should take it out and all the package, but I'll do that in another video when I really show these things running. If you want to see it running, I do have what are called train videos on the page. But now, all these buildings here, these are just some buildings I bought, collected. Some of them I salvaged and fixed up or cleaned up. Some of them are in the process of being fixed up and cleaned up because they're all going to be converted to specific buildings in this little city near Bremen called Delmenhorst. Delmenhorst is the city that I started an exchange program with back in 2002, 2003. We went there for the first time in 2003. And I'm going to recreate a main section of the town, including the train station. Now, this is the hub of the train station. This is not done. This is, it's at a stopping point until I can get some other areas. But this had to be entirely custom built. Now, what you can't see is all the cool stuff on the inside, but I will put some pictures up here that you can see some of the cool things I did inside. It's lit up inside, but obviously I have to finish it. But this took me a long time to get here because everything is custom built. Not one piece on here is a model. I scrapped and ripped things out of models to get there, but it does light up, and I'll show it off more when I get in. But the thing is, what makes this tricky is the station actually goes under the tracks, so I have to put it in this area. So it's going to go in this area, but we have to put up the ramps and everything to build up to it and then slope back down. And that's sort of the stage I'm at now, that I'm finally working on these things. And then I will finish the top of it. I've got a friend at work who does 3D printing, and he's going to make a bunch of the pieces for the canopies and the pillars and that for the platforms. But this is scratch built by hand with mistakes that I have to tidy up and clean up. And then, but it's really, I'm actually quite pleased with it since it's the largest thing I've custom built in about 20 years. I can't really get to the other side, but it's going to go in there. And then the rest of the city of Delmenhorst, the market square, the town hall, and that will be in here. And then basically I'll still have a run over here. And I haven't decided what I want to do over there. I haven't decided what I want to do on this side. I've just got a bunch of models that I've stolen parts from and bought and just set over here. And I've got just a couple of little silly looking stations now, just for fun. It's nothing to look at. I've pirated a bunch of my old wargaming scenery that I still have left and just threw it on the table just to give it something other than just a blank space. But in the end, I just love running the trains. It's just fun to run the trains, and that's what I do here. Almost all my trains are by Meriklin. I do have, obviously, a Roco and a Pico. The locomotive here, the 146.5 for my ICE2. This is by Brava. It's an excellent one. That was a birthday gift from my wife back in 2016. And so it's just in the planning stages, and that's one of the issues we have. But this is the blank canvas, and I know what I want to do over here, but I'm not 100% sure what I want to do over here. A couple of friends that are really into training and more advanced than I am, we just got done talking about what we're going to do is we're going to build a ramp up here because we're trying to decide where to put my fiddle yard. I don't want this to be a fiddle yard. And so we're going to run a ramp up here. My fiddle yard is actually going to be rise above, and where my German rail map is here, the fiddle yard will actually be above the main layout here, and I'll park my main trains that aren't in use, and then they can just come down and get onto the board here and run their loops when I want them to run their loops. You know, and the thing is, I see so many amazing, beautiful layouts, and you know, if I were not trying to model a specific city in a specific section of a city, I obviously would have done a very different layout. I know all the guys I watch in the UK, they do attic. Well, we're lucky. Here in America, we can do basements. And I happen to have a nice large basement that I can, you know, have play with, but it still has to have access. We have areas that I could not appropriate, and this also has to be mobile because we actually have a plumbing access below the table over here. So this whole table is on casters, and I can pull it out so we can get to the wall if we have to work on wiring on the wall or the plumbing access down here. But this is my train table. This is the blank canvas on which I shall be painting. But again, I'm only into this hobby for about 3 years now. Just 3 years. 3 years ago, I didn't own a train. If you're curious to see what my trains look like when they're running, just go to my train videos. There's 15 of them up, and you can see all my trains in action from various stages in my original layout building to my current building or situation here. All right, anyhow, hope you enjoyed a look at the dream, and we will see you for episode 6. Take care.